Hello, awesome humans in the world. Welcome back. So listen, I want to talk to you about the analyzer versus the experiencer. So how can you know without a shadow of a doubt that you have what it is that you desire? Is it a bigger house, a secure marriage, knowing that a loan is coming through, knowing that everything's paid for, that you're debt free, that your health is secure, that the car that you want is sitting in the driveway? That is the difference between being the analyzer versus the experiencer. Okay? Now, there is a differentiation. I'm going to break this down even more so in a future one. When the Bible uses the word understanding, and that is the difference between being the analyzer versus the experiencer. And I'm going to explain those terms as well. But for the sake of this video, let's talk about the biblical notion, the Hebrew idea behind understanding. Because if you don't know, the Hebrew language is very pictorial. What does that mean? It means that it likes to explain things in very descriptive language. It likes to tell a story, right? It isn't just a word like we use in very boring English. It is multi-layered, sometimes even having more than 12 different meanings depending upon the word. For example, the word glory has up to 8, if not even sometimes 12, depending on the historical use as well as the contextual use, right? So again, back to the idea of understanding, okay? So understanding in the Hebrew really actually paints a picture. It's a beautiful one. And it is basically the acknowledgement that when you see an ocean or a lake, but then you also see the shore, you know that you're seeing two different things, right? Two things are being experienced differently, right? Because the shore doesn't have the same dexterity or feeling as the waviness of the water, as the fluidity of the water, right? The shore is solid and firm. Sometimes that's rocks or sand, whatever it is, or maybe somebody's old underwear. Whatever it is, right? It is differentiated between each other. But then there's a oneness to it. There's a oneness between the relationship between the shore and the lake or the ocean. Why? Because if you keep walking, the shore doesn't automatically just separate out of nowhere and you're just in water. Most of the time, especially if it's waist deep, you're going to be walking along the shore that's now buried in the ocean or the lake, right? So this is what is known as the biblical or Hebrew understanding of the word understanding, right? And so the reason why that's important, especially when you're coming to try to gain more security of like, okay, yes, I know I actually have this. I know it's here because I've given it to myself in my imagination. So step one is you have to get understanding that, okay, listen, there's a difference here between me, the ego, and me with the history and the memories and the behaviors and the fears and the trauma, whatever it is that you define yourself as, all those labels, right? Then there's also a difference between me and that which has none of those. Okay, because that is what is manifesting. That is what is known as your imagination. That is what is called as God or love or source or whatever nickname that makes sense to you with the least amount of baggage, right? So when you embrace that, when you accept that first and foremost, you know that that is the most all-powerful being in the world. And when you accept that, and that may take a minute, that may take a second. So, and when I say that, I'm talking about it might take you 6 months. It might take you a month. It might take you 2 years. I'm not trying to actually impose a time on it. But I'm trying to give you this idea that depending on how much history you have with this idea of being one with God or one with the imagination and what that brings up for you, you might need to actually do some deep work in that particular area to make sure that when you come into your imagination, that there is no doubt that whatever you've just created, whatever behaviors you've just rehearsed, whatever emotions and feelings have come up that you've conjured up that have given you the conviction of knowing that you are now that person who has what you want, then you can begin really, really reducing the impact of doubt or anxiety or fear or dread, right? Any of those feelings that come up become less and less potent and powerful because you realize that the power is coming from within. It's not coming from without. There are no other gods, right? And so the more in which you take on the power, or as if there is a power outside of you, you create false gods. You create false beliefs. You create disempowering ones, right? Ones that don't serve you. So that's what it means to have no other gods before me, right? That you want to work on the fact that you have no other doubts. You have no other fears. Nothing is in the way. You're it, right? And when I say you're it, I'm talking about the imagination, right? That's the waves, that's the ocean, that's the fluidity within you, okay, that is creating for you on your behalf. You are co-creating, right, with this being. So back to this idea of understanding. So that is the first step. That's the foundational step of knowing that you have it, what it is. Because if you go in doubting, you're going to go in and you're going to manifest more opportunity for doubt, right? So this is why you want to do Neville's technique, which is to go in, use the I am meditation that he encourages, which is to basically just sit in the I am. That means you without labels, you without history, you without parents, you without trauma, you without being dumped in 8th grade, you without fill in the blank, right? That's you. That's the I am, okay? That's the observer observing, okay? So again, that's first step. But then you also need to realize that there's two ways to perceive things, and it's in the perception of the analyzer or the perception of the experiencer. So the analyzer is, okay, when's it coming? How's it coming? I don't feel it today, so it must not be coming, right? So you're always looking for something that is proving to you that you don't have it, or you're trying to find a technique to somehow reduce any doubt or every ounce of doubt. Let me tell you this. If you try to do that, you will be spinning your wheels for the next 50, 60, 70 years of your life because you're trying to get rid of something that is part of the human experience. You will have doubt. You will have anxiety. You will experience these emotions, but you get to choose how much control they have. You get to use the power of reframing, which is a technique from the sciences that I'm going to teach you in another video, just focusing on how to reframe. But you get to reframe it. Give it a dumb nickname, a stupid nickname. Make fun of it. Gaslight yourself. Whatever it is, but get yourself into the state of the wish fulfilled, because the analyzer isn't about the state of the wish fulfilled, right? The analyzer is, how can I get myself to perfect belief? How can I get myself to perfect, doubtless acceptance, right? This, when you first start out, remember, Neville says, though false. That means you're going to have doubts. You will. It's a fact, right? So accept it. Accept that, okay, doubts aren't manifesting. So don't give it that meaning. Remember, this is about belief. So don't believe that doubts have any power over you. And then just bulldoze through. On one of the Reddit articles that I spoke about, I broke down the idea of resisting the devil and he shall flee. Okay. So again, the devil is just a metaphor, a storied metaphor for doubt, right? The embodiment of doubt. Okay. Or disbelief or limiting beliefs, whatever it is, right? It's the embodiment of all of those collective things together. Okay. But that word resist is very interesting because in the Greek, it doesn't mention the devil. It just says resist. But, and here's another technique that I'm going to go through in another video. This is what I call the psychological double down. Okay. So you want to try to get rid of doubt. One, you're not going to, but you can reduce its influence and impact, right? But, and how? So it's called the psychological double down. In the Greek, it gives you the picture for the word resist means I'm not focusing on doubt. So resisting the devil isn't focusing on the devil. Resisting the devil isn't sitting there and saying, so I've got to sit here and do all like 100 affirmations in the opposite to make sure that I'm not doubting, right? That's not resisting the devil. Resisting the devil is almost actually the opposite of that is I am rich. I am wealthy. I am. And your emphasis, it gets more amplified and your emphasis gets more powerful. Your emphasis gets more stubborn. Your emphasis gets more directed towards the energy that is focused on your wish fulfilled. On any end that you desire, you are that now. But you amplify the actual intensity of the feelings, right? And so you're just like, I am this. So if you want to get angry, get angry. You want to get upset. It doesn't matter. You use it though, as long as you're not giving up your desire, right? So even Neville quotes Paul where he says, in your anger, in your anger. Okay, so the assumption is you can get angry. Do not sin. That means don't let go of your desire. Don't let go of the wish fulfilled. Don't let go of living in the end. Okay, so that's what this is all about. So again, the analyzer is going to, how can I do this? How can I get stronger? How can I analyze more? And so they're always worried about how and what and when, right? All of those are answered within. So the experiencer says, I'm going in to experience all of the how and the when and the aware and the who and all of those kinds of things. Now we know that in this world, we don't really get to control or guide when, right? Not necessarily. Now we can get really good to where we can start mapping out our own ability and to know when things tend to come. But if we're always doing it from within, there's never a when. It's always a now, right? So there's way more to this, and I know I could probably break this video into 3 separate things, and I probably will. But at the same time, I wanted to give you a power-packed video on what is going on when we sit in the state of being an analyzer versus an experiencer. Because the experiencer experiences what they want now in imagination. When they leave that imagination, right, what they do is they go about their day, and if there's doubts, you simply psychologically double down. You resist the devil by saying, I am this, right? And you amplify the emotions throughout that moment, okay? So, hope this was helpful. Share this with at least one person today. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for support. I'm already hitting like in the 70s now for subscribers. You guys rock. So I'm going to be going live very soon and probably going to be doing that regularly. So watch out for that. Watch out for more of that. Get in touch for coaching. And much love to you guys all. Be safe.